SG Reads.
Hello fellow travelers, my name is SG and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to go over another analog horror series, but this one is different because it's a continuation from one that we've previously talked about, the Spider-Man analog horror series The Spider by Just Preston. Now I did really enjoy that one, I really liked it. Please go check out the original video, but before that go check out the original series, both Season 1 and Season 2 of the Spider analog horror series. I do recommend it. It does have its moments and it's very fun, and I do suggest checking it out when you can. But for right now, we're going to go over it and have some theories and have some fun. If you like this content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. It really helped me out and helps get me more videos to put out. And if you have suggestions, let me know. I'd really like to know. Alright, with that being said, let's get started, shall we? Alright, let's do this one more time, shall we? Chapter 1, Where's Miles, depicts Miles Morales along with a bunch of his friends, Genki and Haley, from the video game series, going to Roxxon, where they're testing on spiders. Miles is then bitten and begins feeling the effects right away, also saying the name Peter before disappearing right after the demons attack at his dad's rally, and his dad subsequently dies from that incident as a whole. We then know that something is attacking the demon gang, an attempt for revenge in a way, and we move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Torched, includes more of an attack on the demon gang by a spider-like creature, but is interrupted by the Human Torch, who is in his 60s in this point in time, and he is the one that ultimately takes down the spider before losing his own life in the middle of the fight. But because they managed to take down Spider, they managed to capture him and put him in a glass cell, which leads us into Chapter 3, where we know that the Spider has been caught. A similar situation has happened before in the past, and they need somebody that knows Miles, knows about the incident, and which leads them to their science teacher from high school, Harry Osborn, who was the main protagonist in Season 1. And he describes the events, what happened with Peter along the way, and tries to help Miles find a way out of the situation, which goes into Chapter 4, Interview with Miles, where we do get a small glimpse of the mindset Miles in, where he is hating humanity for what it is. He's feeling resentment for what happened to his dad, and also hints of something else going on in the middle of all this. In Chapter 5, a red goo-like substance has been attacking the outside of the laboratory, and we figure out what is the demon's leader's main purpose. He has released the demon's breath and has caused so much havoc and mayhem after the death of Miles Morales' father. And Harry Osborn has a hint that it might be Martin Lee, someone that he has worked with at a local charity and has worked with Aunt May, Peter's aunt, and may have caused her death shortly after. With that, we now are looking for Martin Lee, while at the same time trying to keep the symbiote that they managed to capture away from Miles Morales. Next, we have Miles escapes due to the bullying or the abuse suffered from the guards protecting Miles, or protecting the people from Miles. Miles manages to escape, and not only that, come in contact with the red symbiote. Combining the two strength, they manage to escape and move on to haunt the streets once more for criminals or those that they deem unworthy, which leads into Night of the Prowler. One of the main villains that has been active lately is the Prowler. He's been stealing or robbing from banks along the way, and the Spider has got him in his sights. They manage to protect the Prowler and recognize that he is Aaron, Miles Morales' uncle, in an attempt to help fund both his own lifestyle and help Miles Morales' mom. He had gone to a life of crime, and even assisting the Kingpin, who has passed since this point, since the demon's breath has been out. Now that they managed to convince him to turn himself into the police in order to protect himself from Miles, we go into Chapter 8, The Prison Massacre. The Prison Massacre goes after the, arrest of Aaron, you could call it, and Miles Morales has managed to swim all the way to the raft. There they keep all the dangerous villains, or costumed, or just altogether dangerous criminals that can be held somewhere else. So when Miles Morales goes there, he is literally slaughtering every criminal he can, along with all those guards that seem to be targeting him. Once he gets to the Prowler, he realizes that it's his uncle Aaron, and has a slight change of heart, a slight moment where he remembers he is the Miles Morales, that he is a good person overall, until Uncle Aaron dies from a gunshot wound from a guard, making Miles go into a complete rage and ultimately being left alone at the raft, riddled in holes, and we have our two protagonists leaving, that being Genki and Haley, making their way to the main New York line again, along with Harry Osborn. In Chapter 9, we find out that Miles Morales is still alive after the whole incident at the raft, and is still causing havoc at Central Park. Harry knows that it's at Central Park because that's where Peter would often go as well. This time, after trying to contact so many different people, along with some of the people that were at the original event that attacked the spider in the season finale of Season 1, they managed to get one big name hero to help assist in that, and that would be Iron Man, who was in the area and manages to incapacitate Miles Morales. But in the process, Miles Morales bites him on the neck, destroying several parts of his armor and infecting him with the spider virus, turning him into a man spider as well, except in this one they call him the Iron Spider. And after Chapter 9, we go into Chapter 10, the Seance, where we find that because of the Iron Spider being infected and seeming to have a more faster reaction compared to Miles or Peter, there seems to be something going on, something supernatural, as if a cold breeze, bad smells and all that, classic kind of ghost vibe, if you will, that there seems to be something more happening. So with that, they contact the Sorcerer Supreme himself to see what's happening in this cell or with the spiders. And from there we know that the spirit of Peter Parker has been whispering in the ear of Miles Morales and is currently possessing the Iron Spider, destroying the soul of Iron Man himself and taking the body overall. With no other options, Harry Osborn goes to I guess you could say, old friend, Dr. Connors, in an attempt to find if they can have a cure for Peter Parker. He is now living in Florida in the Everglades, a more swamp-like area where it is far away from New York because it gives him bad memories of the lizard incident. There, he feels that he is able to finally cure the spider disease and is able to bring back Miles Morales along with anyone else who is infected. But, yet again, thanks to the ignorance of the guards themselves, they manage to release Miles Morales, and he attacks them in Dr. Connors' home, forcing Connors to release the lizard and try to defend themselves. When then, in the middle of the fight, they are themselves attacked by the Man-Thing. Man-Thing burns the Dr. Connors' lizard to a crisp, killing him eventually, and incapacitates the spider, leaving them to the scientists and guards to recapture him and lock him away. Harry has now still the cure, along with instructions on how to use it, and maybe a way to try to fix this whole scenario. In Chapter 12, while they're still trying to research the cure and a way to spread it in a safe way and in an easy manner, they get a spiritual message from Peter Parker saying that he has been the voice inside Miles Morales' head since day one. He had been on this earth for a long time since his passing, and that he wants to reenact an infestation, create as many spider people as he can to bring upon a brand new world of spiders. And from there we do go on to the Spider's plan. They managed to escape the Iron Spider along with Miles Morales in sort of a partnership, if you will. They managed to connect and plan and make their way to an abandoned warehouse where the Green Goblin was himself killed in an attempt to try to beat the spider. There they see that the Jackal, who dug up the body of Peter Parker previously, has been testing with the spiders in an attempt to make these spider people. What his real objective is, we have no idea, but it seems like he was in control for a very long time until finally they are able to kind of turn the tables on him, get control of what is happening to these spider creatures and begin the process of an invasion of a larger scale. We then go to the chapter 4 near the end, where we do talk about people that are going to be helping, such as our two protagonists, Harry Osborn, Haley. Then we do have Deadpool coming in, along with several other characters from Spider-Man League, such as Electro, Shocker, and the Scorpion, who owe a lot to Miles Morales' uncle, Aaron, and have been trying to help stop the spider invasion as well. Since then, many spider creatures have come out and started attacking the people, and now leads to our final conflict, where now that the main cure is done, they're going to try to spread it throughout the people in a more airborne way to get it to as many people as they can, and try to lower the rate of casualties as much as possible. But the spider does not seem interested in any of this and continues to attack as he can, holding hostage Genki and Haley in an attempt to have them surrender. But when they are threatened to become spider creatures as well, they do get the idea that Miles Morales is reclaiming his own senses, is able to think for himself, and attacks the spider in an attempt to kind of protect them. And ultimately, they all team up to fight together to take the spider down once and for all, with the goblin being able to throw a grenade down to a pit, and Miles Morales dragging the spider into it, thereby blowing them both up, and the cure revealing that it was releasing everyone who had been infected recently, and that was the end of the story, leading to the destruction of the spider and Miles Morales. As far as we know, their bodies were never really discovered, or at least Miles's wasn't, and the people that were infected and were only for a short term have had the cure affect them positively. Everything they know is now back to normal, with our main protagonist saying that everything is fine, Harry is back home with everyone else, and that everything seems peaceful in New York as of right now. Alright, I know I just said a mouthful there and probably didn't really cover all of it. There's a lot more to the story, and I do suggest checking it out yourself. There's a lot more to it, and it's very interesting, very fun. Please, I'll leave it down in the comment section and in the description, where you can see the playlist and, of course, the first episode of Season 2. I do suggest going to check it out and make judgments for yourself. But for now, let's get into the rest of the video, shall we? Now, this was debated all the way up to the end about who the main narrator of this series was. And of course, it was Genki. He is the man in the chair in the main series of the Miles Morales storyline for Spider-Man. And it makes sense that he would be the one, considering that Harry was the one in the first season who is best friends with Peter Parker. Genki is best friends with Miles Morales. So, to keep into that theme, it makes sense that he would be the one kind of more worried about Miles overall, and being the one to kind of try to help him as much as he possibly can in a way that makes sense. So now we kind of figured, and he's also a scientist, if I may add, into the main story. So it does fit, and it does add to the storyline and keep certain themes still relevant from the original Season 1. What I can appreciate from this season was that it was willing to take a different take of the story, willing to take certain risks that we wouldn't see naturally. Because it would have been very easy to just make this a carbon copy of the first season, because the characters are very similar, along down to the abilities just growing. But I do like that they grew not just in the story-wise, but more horror-wise, allowing it to grow and expand, if you will. There are certain elements that seem to not fit at the beginning, but seem to mesh very well, such as the supernatural elements that seem to be tossed in, but made it seem like they were there straight from the beginning. I really do enjoy these ghost kind of scenarios, and it does fit with the way the Marvel Universe does kind of structure itself, being in both the physical scientist world, while at the same time having this more darker supernatural world happening in the background, hence the Doctor Strange elements. There's so many, I guess, nods you could say, mainly from the PS4 Spider-Man game, the first one, and of course leading into the second one. But of course there are a lot of references to the original Clone Saga, along with the Web of Shadows storyline. You can tell that there's so many elements added to mix this story into something different, which is what we kind of see in the first season, but that was more of just going off of the comics or the cartoons, giving them a sense of an origin story more than actual inspiration from anything else. So this is just an add-on to a storyline and adding its own twist, which is very well done. I do like the Miles Morales twist at the very end, and that this wasn't really his idea or his intention, that there is a hint of him still in there trying to help in a certain way, just being misguided by the wrong person or spirit in his ear. Now, I'm going to get into the theory section of it right now, which I do have a couple, and for right now, I would have to say that the main thing is that, what was the Jackal's purpose? What was he doing? Now, obviously, I can say that the Jackal himself was the one working at Roxxon creating these spider elements. He probably got curious after he saw from the Oscorp industry the effects of the spider DNA and wanted to try to recreate it, using Roxxon in a way telling him that it was just going to be a way to enhance human ability, sort of make another super soldier serum, whether it was for military uses or maybe just as a healing process. But Roxxon does become a main distributor in this universe, mainly because Oscorp is now off the map as a whole because of the spider incidents. And he was using this to recreate the spider, probably influenced by Peter Parker, corrupted by the spider spirit, in an attempt to recreate himself, waiting for the right person similar to him to get bitten by the spider. Hence why he felt he was so in control this whole time, because he felt he was the new creator of this kind of spider race, thinking that he was the one that had made it and it was all him, but really he was the puppet in this whole situation by the spirit of the spider. And we can kind of tell that was the ending, with the spider ultimately taking the life of the Jackal at the very end. But I don't think that'll be the end of what we see for the most part, because as we know, he dug up the body of Peter Parker, probably to collect the DNA of the spider at the very end, and added to put the blood of the spiders into the Peter Parker, calling him Ben. The reason I think Ben, we'll talk about in a minute, but for right now, we can pretty much suggest that the Jackal was the one being controlled, was the one working at Roxxon, and we know that he may have something more up his sleeve later on in the story if it is continued. Now the question is, was Miles ever in control, or was it all the spider? And the answer is, yeah, Miles was always in control. His spirit was never away from his body, much more that it was just whispered into him what to do. His anger was just fueled by this weird chemical mix of the spider's DNA, and of course his hatred for the Demon Clan, an attempt to kind of get revenge for his dad. Miles was in control the whole time, but was slowly being influenced by the spider, much like just hearing his opinions, feeling his emotions, kind of being possessed, but at the same time not being possessed at all, more of just feeling the emotions from the spider going into him. And we know that the spider that bit Miles Morales was a bit weaker, but at the same time was stronger, allowing Miles to have a little bit more control overall, but had more abilities, invisibility, electric shock, stuff like that. And I think in turn, it was weaker in the sense that it couldn't control his mind completely. Because as we see, Miles Morales did have control to protect Genki and Haley at the very end of the storyline. So that just shows me that the events that happened tells me that Miles Morales was in control, but was just going off of pure rage, pure anger for the world that he feels failed him in protecting his dad and kind of helping him. Because even in the interview, we know that he was not happy about the situation. He was not happy being a spider. He was not happy about being locked up or about having to do what he had to do. He just wanted to help protect the people in a way that made sense to him now. And the only way that made sense to him now was that the spirit of the spider kept whispering to him, giving him advice, allowing him to think that this was the only way. Now, I know there's a lot in the comment section when they revealed in the Seance episode that the spider was still alive. The spider that we see in this ghost apparition is not Peter Parker specifically, much more that it just looks like Peter Parker. It looks like a spider creature. He is tearing up spirits so that he may have the bodies that they possess. He is the spider, and if you read the comics, the totem of the spider is a common character that comes in, but it's more, I guess you could say, less malevolent. He is there just to help watch and monitor. If we take that kind of scenario and just twist it in a way that he is more of a malicious entity, that he took control of Peter Parker's mind fully when he was alive, and has just twisted him into this weird character, made him into this kind of unsympathetic creature. So the spider is not Peter Parker, it is just the spirit of the spider. And even as a spirit, it still takes on the form of a spider, because as we know, it has 8 legs, 8 limbs, and still has the looks of Peter Parker. So if we wanted to say one thing, is that the spider has corrupted Peter Parker to his very soul. He does not really know what he's doing even to this point, allowing himself to kind of be this twisted amalgamation of a spider and Peter Parker, giving him the looks of a man but keeping the energy of a spider. So if I had to say that the spider is the spirit, he is the one that's in charge. Peter Parker is still the victim of his endeavors and just refuses to rest or even let Peter Parker rest until his plans are fully achieved. And that would be the same mindset of a symbiote. And that would be to spread, control, and to take over the planet as a kind of hive mind in a way, where he is the ruling factor in everything. Now, what lies ahead is very iffy. I don't think that there will be a continuation of the series, but this is just my speculation if there was. Because I do think that it ended fine. I think it ended good, just like the first one ended good. It doesn't need to be continued, but if it does continue, this is just my guess of what the storyline would be. And that would be that the body of Peter Parker, which the Jackal has stolen, when the spiders have been feeding it blood, seems to be still alive in a certain way. That's just weak. And then now it's going to be called Ben Reilly, mainly because that Uncle Ben's incident was the spark that started this whole fire. It was the element that started this whole chain of events. So, in a rebirth situation, it makes sense that they would call it Ben, because this is the start of a new era in a certain way. But I would have to lead towards more of a clone saga situation, where the Jackal has been testing on Peter Parker's body for quite some time, and has made several different clones, each one more of a failure, with one being perfect, looking more human, while at the same time having the abilities or instincts of a spider, and that being more of a mix of Miles Morales and Peter Parker's DNA. And this will lead into the more supernatural elements of it all, where we do have the spider still being kind of a ghost trying to infect these other clones with its mindset, because right now they are just shells open for the spider to take control. But the one that I think that's going to have more of an effect will be Miles Morales. He himself is now a spirit because it wasn't completely destroyed by the spider. As I said before, he was in control for a long time. So now he feels he's just as stronger, maybe not a little stronger, than the spider itself, but still maintaining his sensibilities, his morality, still trying to be Miles Morales. Maybe he'll possess one of these clones and become the official Spider-Man of this universe in a certain way, in an attempt to do the spiritual warfare against the spider as a whole. So that would be an interesting take, allowing this mix of science and the supernatural to really blend, showing that there is still a constant fight between the two, between being a monster and being a man, even in this most spiritual sense. And we may see a return of Peter Parker separating from the spider as a whole too, because like I said, we don't really know that it is Peter Parker, it just looks like him. For all we know is that the real spirit of Peter Parker has long since been gone, or has just been in the background scared of what's going to come next because of the spider creature. But for now, that's what I'll leave it with here, and I will continue on with the main series. But for now, let's get on to the final thoughts, shall we? All in all, This is still a really great series. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the different takes that he took on it. The writing is still grade A. I still love the writing. It's very well done. And any horror series, whether it be analog, a regular one, or even just something you do on the, like for fun, needs a story. Otherwise, it doesn't really have any backbone. And this definitely does have a story that followed all the way to the end, allowing itself to expand beyond just that of the original season 1, of it just being condensed into the Spider-Man storyline overall. This allowed it to go into the supernatural realm, to Florida. This allowed it to enter into phases that we didn't think it would. And while some will have debates on how that has acted, I think it did very well for giving this new vibe, a new sense to the whole story. And kind of gives us an idea that this may be continuing vibes for the next series that he might do. Whether it be Spider-Man or whether it be something else, something more original. We have to keep a lookout because now we know that the spider is still out there. His spirit is still corrupting those around him, and we will see more of him probably later on in other projects. Thanks again, Just Preston, for making something very interesting, something I would like to very much see again. I do suggest everyone go check it out. Like I said, I'll leave it down in the comments section, and of course in the description. Please go check it out when you can. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. But before that, I would like to add this. Do you like comics? Well, you're here. Of course you like comics. Please check out this video I did about a more of a independent storyline comic called The Unthinkables. This is more of a self-published comic that has been released within the last year, and I really did like it, enjoy it. Please check it out if you can. You don't even have to watch my review, just go check out the book. But I would really like it if you checked out the review. Thanks again for watching, and I'll leave a link right here for you to go check out right now. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.